Hello, everyone. My name is Artur, and I'm the principal immigration attorney at IS Law Firm. We all have heard the news about the 75 countries banned from issuance of immigrant visas. I will explain what it means. Music. I will break it down for you as to what it means for those who have already applied and have pending cases, those who are planning to apply for immigrant visas, and for those who have immigrant visa interviews already scheduled, music, or visas already issued. Without any further delay, I'll get straight to the point. First, you have to understand immigrant visa does not mean visa in general. Immigrant visa only refers to permanent residency visas. Immigrant visas are issued to permanent residents who went through the process and who are receiving visa at the consulate to enter the United States to become permanent residents and to remain in the United States. So this ban does not affect non-immigrant visas. That means those visas, such as student visas, tourist visas, work visas, and all of those other visas are music, not banned. This ban is not a ban. It's what this ban is doing is, so-called ban is music causing the issuance of immigrant visas, music, for those individuals who already went through the interview. It does not stop the acceptance of the petitions, meaning for those who want to apply or who are about to file to sponsor their relatives, their parents, or who have immigrant visa petitions filed by their employees, those FET petitions are still accepted. They're still being processed. Even interviews are not canceled. So the immigrant visa ban that was issued now, that was declared now for the nationals of the 75 countries. It does not cover non-immigrant visas. It does not stop the processing of the cases. Music. It simply pauses the issuance of the visas. That means the time by which those applicants will receive their visas will be delayed. Now the question is, how long will be the delay? The government announced it as indefinite music suspension, right? So those are big words. Now the government cannot indefinitely suspend music, indefinitely stop issuance of those visas. Why? Because there are still laws in the books forcing the executive branch of the U.S. government, meaning the State Department, to issue those visas if the applicant qualifies. Music. So officially what they announced is indefinite suspension, but it cannot be indefinite. It's a temporary pause on issuance of those immigrant visas. Again, there is a difference between non-immigrant visa and immigrant visa. Now, how long is this going to be? How long is this going to last? It's not going to be more than 6 months for sure. And the reason being is that if the visa interview is held, which they have to process the case and hold the visa interviews, the government can put the case in administrative processing for a reasonable amount of time. If it is more than 6 months, the applicant has a right, or the petitioner has a right to file a case in a federal court forcing the State Department to make the decision on the case. They cannot arbitrarily deny the case. So if it's approvable, they must approve the case. Now, officially, what the State Department announced now is that the reason they're pausing this is because they're looking closer into the public charge rules. Now, what does public charge mean? Public charge means if an immigrant is receiving their immigrant visa and moving to the United States as a permanent resident, they have to demonstrate that they have sufficient financial support. You all probably have heard the word of affidavit of support. When you file immigrant visa petition for your relative, you also have to provide affidavit of support at one stage of the process. Music. So this affidavit of support provides guarantee to the U.S. federal government that the immigrant who's immigrating into the United States will not depend on federal public funding for their life in the United States, for medical care, and so on and so forth. Now, what has been happening in the past is traditionally it's been abused. There are lots of immigrants who enter the United States, and then they depend on the public support, and some of the system, I agree, has been abused. But what the Trump administration is doing now is they're looking into this abuse, and they're trying to find the ways to better enforce this music public charge rule so that those individuals don't take advantage of the U.S. public benefits, those individuals who immigrate into the United States. Music. Now, the way they do it, though, is loudly. They purposefully create this chaos and panic in the minds of the public. Music. Because they want to break the stereotype that the doors of America are open for everyone. So traditionally, America has always been welcome for immigrants. Country welcoming immigrants, and in the past several years under Biden administration, it's been you know, much easier to immigrate into the United States. The borders have not been enforced sufficiently. The borders have been music, easier for the immigrants to cross. And because of that, what Trump administration is trying to do is music, to create this panic whereby actually doing what they're supposed to do, they are also creating this loud headlines, loud news. So to break that stereotype that America is welcome for everyone. But don't fall into this trap. Again, this is not a total ban. It's not indefinite pause. It is limited pause there. Although they're announcing it as indefinite, it cannot last indefinitely. The immigrant visa applications and petitions are still accepted and they're being processed. There will be interviews scheduled, but the visa issuance will be delayed. Now, the process of immigrant visa petition up until the day of the interview currently takes approximately 2 years, or in some cases even more than that anyways. So, music, if now with this pause, what it will cause is it will delay a little bit more. Well, maybe not a little bit more. Maybe 6 months more, maybe a little more than 6 months, but it will cause the delay in receiving approved visas. It does not completely ban the nationals of those countries from entering into the United States. Music. During the first Trump administration, they tried to do that. You all have probably heard of Muslim ban, and the federal courts immediately struck it down, and they were unable to enforce music that, and the ban was lifted. So similarly here, there will be litigation. There are probably lawsuits are now being drafted to be filed by immigrant rights groups. I expect personally that it will be soon lifted. It will be resolved. But at this time, those who had interviews or have interviews scheduled at the consulate for their immigrant visas should expect delays in receiving their visas because the State Department is reviewing the processing of those visas in light of the public charge abuse. Public charge, lack of public charge, rule enforcement. So that's what's going on. Now, if you have had an immigrant visa interview and you have not been issued immigrant visa, or the decision has not been made for more than 6 months, you have a right to file a lawsuit in federal court to force the State Department to take action. That's called mandamus action, and we do it frequently in our law firm, and there will be more mandamus action cases filed if the suspension lasts more than 6 months, and the federal courts will force, and they do force every day the State Department, the USCIS, to process cases faster to make decisions within reasonable period of time. Music. That's what is called administrative pro. So there have been administrative processing delays anyways. Music and some of the immigrant visas, and many non-immigrant visas, meaning visitor visas, student visas, and so on, have been in administrative processing even before Trump administration, during the Biden administration, during Obama administration, during Bush administration. There has always been this administrative processing, meaning delays in the issuance of visas after the interview. Some of those delays have been lasting for months. Some of these delays have been even lasting for years. So there are many individuals who applied for visas and they haven't been issued timely, have been waiting for months for their visas issued. So this administrative processing is not something new. It's been there, but now they have another reason to place the case in administrative processing after the interview. And that's what's going on. And the announced reason is review of the public charge rules to make sure that it's properly enforced. They will review those cases thoroughly to make sure that the individuals who are applying, they do have either their own financial ability to support themselves in the United States, or they have sufficient financial supports in the United States. Now, what I often tell my clients when when I consult someone who wants to immigrate into the United States, I'm often asked, are there public benefits for which I can apply or some kind of social benefits? And I always tell them that the United States is not a country of social benefits. It's really not. It's really hard to survive here in the United States, W your rear end off on daily basis. It's not similar to Canada, similar to Europe, and the social benefits in the United States are limited. So if you're coming to the United States, you're immigrating into the United States, you really have to plan to seriously work to make yourself living and to achieve the American dream. If you have any questions about this ban or the prior bans, please feel free to contact us. All the contact information below. We will answer your questions. We'll tell you what you can, what you cannot do, and what to expect about all these bans and all these enforcement announcements from the Trump administration.